Welcome, everybody, to Fancounters. My name's Nick.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And we are getting nutcrackered out over here. It's been a crazy time. I own a video production company, and we've filmed the Nutcracker now 7 times so far, and we have a couple more to go. But Elizabeth, you get to see the Nutcracker because somebody very special to you is in it.
Yes, my daughter Lily is in the elementary school production of the Nutcracker. She is one of the Russian dancers. So I will see it today and then 2 performances tomorrow. And then this has been a couple of months worth of work for her to do these 3 shows, and then it's over.
So we're getting ready for Christmas. We've been talking about that for a long time. And I don't know if we've talked about movies. I thought that would be the one topic we'll hit up before we go to our special guest. What's your favorite Christmas movie?
I don't know that I have a very favorite Christmas movie. I'm not a big Hallmark Christmas movie watcher, but I will watch almost any Disney one. I was watching the Super Buddies Christmas movie the other day. I watched The Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey the other night. There isn't really one that sticks out. At our house, we watch The Elf on the Shelf a lot.
Okay.
I do also watch Eloise's Christmas a lot,
Okay.
and that one repeats at my house a bunch. But there isn't one that when it's on, I go out of my way to do it. But we also own, almost every one of those Rudolphs and Santa is Coming to Town and Frosty. So we could watch them in the summer if I wanted to.
Yeah, well, it's not the same. My all-time favorite, and the one I watch usually Christmas Eve when I get home, is Miracle on 34th Street. I usually end my evening with that. I just love that film with Natalie Wood, and I don't know. I can't remember who the adults were in that movie.
I don't remember either.
But anyway,
it's a good movie.
It's a classic. It just is done so well. So that movie is special to me. But my wife and I do watch all the Hallmark shows. There was 21 new movies this year from Hallmark. I downloaded the calendar and set the DVR for all of them. So my favorite so far has been Switched for Christmas, which was with Candace Cameron Bure. She's like the face. Do you watch Hallmark at all?
I do.
She's like the face of Christmas now.
Yes, and I think it was last year or the year before. I don't remember. One of the winters I think it was last year, I had a surgery about this time last year and ended up in bed and for some reason or other stuck on the Hallmark Channel and watched like every single one of them.
Yeah.
And I do know that there was one that starred Joey Lawrence and
Melissa Joan Hart, right?
And Melissa Joan Hart. And because the chemistry was so good, that's what then sparked the TV show Melissa
and
Joey.
Yep.
Because they really, and I remember that one. And I actually have seen 2 or 3 that Candace Cameron Bure were in.
Yeah. Well, this one in Switch for Christmas, she plays her own twin.
Oh.
It's really hard to buy. I mean,
okay.
like she's... I don't know.
All right.
She sells it, but it's difficult.
Well, she's such this cute little thing. I'm completely hooked on Fuller House.
Yeah, I love Fuller House.
And I'm all caught up, so I have nothing to watch until they do the next season. But she's just this tiny little thing when you actually look at her compared to the other actors. She's tiny.
Yeah, I used to have a crush on Candace Cameron as a kid. It was not meant to be. Anyway, Elizabeth, you and I worked in radio for so many years together, and we got a chance to meet a lot of country music superstars, and today's guest is no exception. We've met him several times doing concerts with him. So are we ready to announce who this guy is?
Yeah, I'm really excited because he really is one of the sweetest men in country music. And he's just a doll.
Hardworking, longevity. His career has just gone on, which is awesome. His name's Billy Dean. And Billy Dean first gained national attention after appearing on Star Search. He's been recording hit songs since 1990. In fact, he's got over 20 hit singles, including 11 top 10 hits. He hit number 1 of the Billboard Country Music charts alongside Alison Krauss and Kenny Rogers in the song Buy Me a Rose.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah. Kenny Rogers. We're going to talk about him, too, because they did a tribute to him in Nashville.
Yes.
And Billy Dean was there.
Most recently, Billy Dean has been playing as a guest artist in Branson, Missouri, but is about to leave that comfort zone and hit the road in 2018. Some of our favorite Billy Dean songs include It's What I Do, Billy the Kid, Only Here for a Little While, and Somewhere in My Broken Heart.
It's also no secret that he's currently producing and mentoring a former America's Got Talent singer. We'll learn about that in just a bit.
So get ready to welcome our Grammy Award-winning guest,
Billy Dean.
Coming to you from nowhere near the entertainment capital of the world, this is Fancounters, the podcast.
You're amazing. You need to come to Hollywood. I'm going to make you famous.
There was this mob of people, and they're screaming my name.
Crazy fans.
Stop following me. Don't come around my house. If you do, the cops are going to be at yours.
I think this guy wants to fight me. Ended up being a fan.
There's just like security guards with like M16 holding like fans back.
Are you kidding me?
I continually will get stopped.
Can I take a picture? We're gonna. Oh my God.
I definitely declined signing body parts.
Oh, I don't want to go there.
I'm the only one that's ever spit on Sam Jackson and lived to tell about it.
That's why we call it Fancounters.
I don't think you're going to last on the air very long.
Billy Dean, it's so good to welcome you to the show. Thanks for being on Fancounters.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. Now, most times we start at the beginning of our guest's career, but you've been a household name in our homes for over 20 years. So we're going to work backwards this time. You're currently finishing up a residency in Branson, Missouri, and we had trouble finding out just how long you've been there. Now, I know that you were there in 2013 for the Christmas show, but have you been there since that?
I have. I fell in love with Branson, and it was so nice to go to a theater, every day and have everything be consistent and have people driving in from all over the Midwest to see me. And I was like, wow, okay, I see why Branson, entertainers love it here because, the fans are the one doing the traveling, not the artist.
That's a definite change.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, better time management. I have a music company in Nashville, and it's really hard to run that, these days when you're traveling around, going through airports. It's really hard to sit down in front of the computer screen, and get your work done. And so Branson's been very strategic for me as far as, getting to write new music, record new music. I go to work, I do my show, and I come home and I work on my company.
Are you staying at a house while you're in Branson, or are you like hoteling it?
No, we stay at a condo here. There's, trust me, there's no shortage of places to stay.
Right.
Here in Branson, man. I mean, when Branson took off, back in the 90s, oh my God, did they built and built. There's hotels, condos. I mean, we have the most amazing condo right on the first tee of a golf course here. It was fully furnished. We didn't have to move anything in from Nashville or anything. We just moved right in with our clothes. It was just couldn't have been any more convenient. And we spend, usually the season here, which is April to December in Missouri, and then we usually tour or head somewhere warm January through March.
I wish we could do that. We're in Milwaukee, so we are in the brood of the coldness.
Yeah, we're due for snow tomorrow.
All you guys need is a big mountain. That's all, man. I love snow if there's a mountain involved, and I can ski down it.
Yeah. So watching the videos on your website, billydean.com, not only do you look like you haven't aged a moment, but your voice is clear and enduring as it always is. How do you keep your shows fresh and entertaining?
Well, first of all, I did earlier this year. I had vocal surgery in January, which, thank God, came out very positive, and I was very lucky, to be able to wait until I was 55 years old, to have this surgery. A lot of artists, in fact, I was even recommended to have it back in my 30s, and I'll never forget that, man. I've always had a little spot. I think all of us singers have some sort of a flaw in our vocal cords that make it a little bit unique. Kenny Rogers, for instance, the way he sounds the way he does is because of a vocal cord flaw. Well, doing as many shows as I was doing in Branson, it aggravated it to the point of surgery. And so this entire year has been, my doctor said, you're going to be singing better than you've ever sung in your life because you're not going to have this injury that you've been managing for 20 years. And they didn't even know if it was an injury. It could have just been a growth or a cyst on my cord that I've been living with. In fact, I know it's been there since 1991 because we scoped it and saw it. So I've been managing this and singing around this my whole career, which made for almost have to sing with a flawed technique, to sing that way. Well, since the surgery, oh my gosh, I've had this amazing range and ability that I haven't had, or that wasn't effortless, my whole career. And now it's like having a sports car, but you're too afraid to punch the gas. So it's thank God for Vanderbilt. They've been, first of all, being able to get me back to where I'm really singing, I think, better than I've ever sung, in terms of just learning new techniques. And then I always, as far as keeping the show fresh, there's two things. I have a scripted show here that we have in Branson because, when you have a crew of lights and you have stage hands and all of this thing, the show has to be scripted so everybody knows what to do and where to be. But it's not my favorite way to perform. I really love to perform just me and a guitar, where I don't have a set list and I can just sort of perform in the moment, because that's how I keep it fresh for me is being able to go out, and I usually have a piano or just me and a guitar and, or something like that. And I'm able to just kind of read the audience and just offer up my music medicine for them, for the day. And I love that part of it. I love I love performing in the moment. I'm not a really big fan of, regurgitating the same show, the same set list night after night. It's really hard to keep it fresh, but you do have to pretend like it's the first time you've ever said these words and done these songs.
Right.
Are there songs where, there's some artists we've heard where they're like, oh, I don't ever want to perform that song again. I've done it, it's been my whole career. Do you have songs like that where when you sing them, you're just like, oh, not this one again?
Yeah, I've got a couple of those. There's just two songs that are like that for me. It's because I just remember the record label's mindset for requesting me to record these songs, and I wish I probably should have listened to my record label back in the day, but you have this marketing team, you come into a record label, you've got a look and an image, and then you have, for me, I think they spent too much time trying to market me specifically to trying to make me some type of, teenage idol or something, and I really wanted to just be concentrate more on the artistry of the music than I wanted to concentrate on my celebrity, but they both, you got to have them both,
Sure.
If you don't maintain your celebrity, nobody's ever going to hear your music,
Right.
So I learned a lot on that. And I was, they were wanting me to do these love songs, and I wasn't in a great place in my head, for doing love songs. I was going through a divorce, and the last thing I wanted to sing was a damn love song.
Sure.
And but I learned a lot that it's not, I think through this whole process. Another song that I turned down because I didn't think I would do the best job of it was a song called "The Greatest Man I Never Knew," which was written by a good buddy of mine, Richard Lee, and I that ended up being a number one song for Reba, and it told me, Billy, you're not you're just a vehicle. You need to be singing these songs so other people can relate to them, and that's the artistry of it. Whether you can relate to it or not, you got to be able to sell a song and put a song out there for the public that needs to be heard, and you should know how to deliver it, whether it pertains to my life or not.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I've struggled with my whole career is music has always been therapy for me, but it's also my business, and I've always run into conflict with those two. Songs that are good therapy for me usually have no appeal, no popular appeal whatsoever to anyone else. It doesn't pertain to anyone else, and that's been a hard one for me to learn, is distinguishing that.
Yeah, and I think we forget as artists, they have to, what you're talking about, you have to sing a song that maybe you're not into, just like, when we go to work, if we're having a bad day at home, we have to leave that behind and be somebody else. It's kind of like you're being somebody else by, feeling like, oh, I have to put out this kind of song, even though you're not feeling it at the time. But I have to say, I don't think we ever knew. I obviously can't identify the two songs you're talking about. So you've done a good enough job to make us believe.
We're all buying it.
We're buying it.
Oh, trust me, one of them is one that I wrote. So I myself, and I got, so I don't like to sing it either. But I had this. Most of my music, though, one of the cool things that I've been doing, and that I'll do in my show this year as I'm touring, is I can play songs from the 70s. Like, for instance, I can play the Old Blackwater, the Doobie Brothers song, Old Blackwater. I don't know if you guys remember that song or know that song.
We are old enough to know, yes.
Yeah, and then Billy the Kid, and it's crazy how similar the two are. And same thing with the old Christopher Cross Sailing, that song Sailing and Only the Wind. There's specific songs like that I was a fan of. And then when I hear those, go back and listen to those old 70s songs, and then I can go, oh my God, I know why I wrote this now. I know why, because that old 70s song was just ingrained in my ear, in my DNA, I guess. And I ended up writing songs like that. So it's kind of cool now in the show to do a few of these old 70s songs and turn right around and do one of my hits that I know I chose or wrote because of one of these previous 70s hits. And it just kind of, it ties a thread between, where my music came from. Because I even though I was in country music, I was a big fan of, traditional country music, but I really grew up in that folk rock era. The Eagles, James Taylor, Dan Fogelberg, Christopher Cross, all of that 70s, I guess, at least 70s and 80s kind of music, it was real melodic. It was pretty music. I'm a big guy, but I like pretty music. I like pretty melody, and that's something I feel like has been lost, or you don't hear a lot of really cool melodies anymore because they may not be cool. And my little 12-year-old nephew thinks that melodies are not cool. And man, I'm going to have a talk with him this Christmas. I want to teach that youngin' something.
Yeah, that's right.
Billy, we just talked with a country music artist named Jessie Chris. I don't know if you've heard of her before, but she's out of Boston and she's making a name for herself, and she's releasing a new album in January, so she'll be on the show next week. But when we were talking to her, your name came up, and one of the songs that she really loved from you was We Just Disagree, and you mentioned songs from the 70s. That was actually a Dave Mason song. And so her question to you was, what made you choose that song to record? And of course, you made it a big hit.
Oh man! Oh yeah, it's crazy. I had a brother-in-law who loved that song, turned me on to it, and I bought the tape, and I'll never forget this. So when I was about 16 or 17 years old, this first girl I dated broke up with me. And man, it crushed me, and this was when, I just really turned to music, and I was trying, I loved her, and I didn't want to be mad at her, but at the same time, she hurt me really deep. When I heard We Just Disagree, there ain't no good guy, there ain't no bad guy, it's just you and me, and we just disagree. It became my song my junior and senior year in high school, and so I just kind of, it just stayed with me all of these years. And then when on my third album, the Fire in the Dark album, we were looking for tempo. One of the hardest things for me to find in country music was an up-tempo song that I could put out, because the things that I wrote were not real country. They were kind of more Southern rock. You know, I mean, that was a big part of the music I played too, you know, being from the South with, you know, Southern rock. So when I would write something up tempo, it was not very country, and it just didn't do good with writing tempo. So I was always struggling for tempo songs, and Disagree. We thought, well, it's an old pop song. I don't know if country music will like this, but it's time to do an album, and we're a shortage of tempo songs. So we did it, and I'll never forget the night that we were recording it. Susie Boggess brought over a guy by the guy that wrote the song, Jim Kruger. He was from Wisconsin, and she brought his album over, Jim Kruger, and of all the versions that I'd heard Dave's version and then Kruger's version and maybe another version or two. We sort of put we just sort of got our idea of how to record it, add drums and some things that some of the other recordings didn't have. And if she hadn't brought that album over, I don't know that we would have had the hit that we had, because hearing the songwriter's version, Jim Kruger's version, really gave me a direction of how to record it, to make it different from Dave Mason's.
Branson's a tourist city, obviously. So while you're staying there and performing, I always like to hear this from people who I feel like are really recognizable people. So what's it like for you to go out? Do you get recognized in Branson when you go grocery shopping and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I do. That if I do my hair and put my jeans on, if I don't have my reading glasses and my old man hat on. But yeah, they do. You know, it's funny because what's really surprising to me is when I leave Branson, you know, if I'm on my way to the show, usually, I've got my regular travel get up that I wear, and not that I'm trying to stay incognito or anything like that. I mean, back in the day when I was on TV and CMT, and you know, videos were playing daily. You know,
back then
that was always tough to get from point A to point B. But nowadays, it's not that. You know, if I want to get recognized, you know, all I got to do is just let the hair out, you know, and just walk through the airport, with my guitar and stuff in it. But what's really surprising is this new generation. I'll get, you know, like 20-somethings who will come up and go, "Are you Billy Dean?" You know, and of course the next thing out of their mouth is, "My mom, my mom loves your music." I'm like, how did the 20-something, you know who I was, or how did they recognize me? I guess maybe it's because maybe because of social media today, but I always wonder why I'm not on like TV and stuff. So it's weird how some of the new generation recognize me, but it's usually because their mom turned them on to my music.
Hey, that's not bad. It doesn't matter how you get the fans.
Well, no, I'm very happy to see the 90s country music, coming back around and being popular again. It's,
yes.
I guess they say everything runs in cycles. Well, it looks like the 90s is cycling back around now.
Yeah.
And a lot of, my kids are 24 and 22, and, they're seeking out music that is really authentic, played by real musicians, not programmed, to death. I mean, it's almost like a sound that's foreign to them, where they go, "Wow, what is that?" And I'm going, "Well, that's actually a real drummer playing." That's what that is.
Those are human beings.
Yeah, exactly. So the 90s music, which I think what separated us in the 90s was most of us, I think a lot of us, country artists, were influenced by, that folk rock stuff from the 70s. I think a lot of us were. In fact, I even worked on a project called Common Thread, where we recorded. We did remakes of the Eagles music, and that album is exactly what brought the Eagles back together. Travis Tritt, was just talking to him a month ago, and I said, "Man, how did you get the guys to, how did you get the Eagles, to shoot a video with you?" And he goes, "I just asked." Sure enough, they got together and it was a great way to pay tribute to them because their music really did influence country music probably the most, the 90s country music. And they kind of started out as sort of a bluegrass, punk bluegrass rock band, I guess you could say, if that's such a genre. But anyway, that's, most of us, I think, were influenced by that. And how does that separate us from music of today? Well, it was storytelling. Songs usually had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and there was a lot of melody and a lot of storytelling. And I think that was different, than what we have today.
Yes, I agree. So, not limited to your Branson shows, thinking back to your touring days, can you tell us some of your most memorable encounters with fans?
Oh man! Oh yeah. Yeah, I can. Well, I'll never forget this. The first time that I ever had a line of people waiting for me. This is the first time I ever encountered fans. And what had happened was, I was living in Nashville, and I had a song out on the radio, and it was in the top 10. It was my first single, only here for a little while. And Fanfare, we had this thing called Fanfare coming up in Nashville, where each artist has a booth, and you sit in your booth, all day and all night, and you just greet the fans. Well, I had never had any fans, and I just had a song in a video that was out. I wasn't on the road. I had been spending most of my time learning the business. One of the first things that the record label does is they teach you how the industry works. You get signed, you go out with a sales team. You're visiting Walmart, and you were back then Tower Records and things like that, and you're learning. And you're going to visit radio stations that are playing your song, and they're just sort of training you as to, hey, here's the nuts and bolts of the business. So I wasn't exposed to any fans. I hadn't been out on playing any shows or anything. I just had a hit song, and I drive up to Fanfare to go sign in my booth. And man, there's a line of people outside of the building, wrapped around the building and everything. And I walked there, I'm like, wow, I wonder who's here, This Garth or somebody, man, somebody's important here, and I walk in, and my gosh, it was my line for my booth, and my mom was there, and they made me stand up on the table, and so I could see down the line and see everybody, and it was, gosh, I don't know, whatever, 12 hours later of signing autographs. I was tired of fans that day. No, I certainly learned patience that day. That was the first time I ever really encountered a fan base, that there were actually people who, knew a lot about me, and I had no idea who they were. But some of the great encounters, I used to pull people up out of the audience to dance on a song called Fire in the Dark, and I've had some pretty good dances, I'll tell you right now, man. You talk about some groping. Oh my God! And it wasn't me doing.
I was going to say them more than you, I'm sure. Got you in trouble when you went home, maybe.
Oh, I'm 6'4". It didn't bother me really when somebody. I don't feel threatened or anything like that. But I had some good times with the fans. I have them. Of all ages, especially young kids, man. It's amazing how little kids come up and love the song "Let Them Be Little," and so anything that stands out. One lady got in a fight with her husband right in front of the stage. I will never forget this. It was the week that Somewhere My Broken Heart went number one. We were playing a big festival, and she was just all about Billie Dean, man. And her husband or her boyfriend was so jealous and so mad.
Oh my gosh!
I'm singing this song, and I'm watching all of this unfold in front of me. She gets mad at him. She storms off to this porta toilet, and he proceeds to start rocking the porta toilet and turning it over while she was in there, all in the middle of Somewhere in My Broken Heart. And I'm turning around, I'm going, did you just this is crazy stuff right here. That's maybe the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Did you watch her come out?
No, man. We actually, they actually, the crowd of people went around that thing, and I couldn't see from there. So I don't know what happened after that.
Gosh.
But we wrapped up the song pretty quick. I don't know what happened. That was a weird deal. But no, I like, fans, meet and greets and fans have taught me to listen, to be a better listener, to actually try to receive the compliments they give you. It used to be something that I would think, oh man, this is going to take all day. You got to sign autographs all day. But when you really think of it, people are just lined up to tell you how great you are and what you've meant to their lives. And I've learned to really receive that and listen to that and be thankful for that.
Oh, that's fantastic advice.
Do you think, Billy, your accessibility has changed? When you were at the height of your popularity and your songs were playing on the radio all the time, has your accessibility changed then versus now?
Yeah, it has. You have to make a decision pretty early on if you're going to be, if you're going to be a mystique type of an artist or if you're going to be an accessible type of an artist. And I have to be honest, the biggest stars are the ones that are not very accessible. And sometimes I think it's, I chose to be accessible, just always come out and sign autographs, always thank the fans, always go over the red carpets and shake hands and, be nice, and be accessible. But it's not the smartest thing to do in terms of stardom 101. If you think about all the biggest stars who didn't do a lot of that were George Strait, Reba, Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton, and a lot of it is because you don't know when to stop it. Like if you've got 1,000 people waiting in line or whatever, and they just keep coming in, at some point you have to stop. And the other thing is it becomes you get to a point where you catch people's colds and they give you, you got to sing. And that's the worst thing that happens. If you get a cold, you have to cancel shows. And so at a certain point, you have to just stop being, touching people and hugging people. And because you have such a tremendous schedule and you have so many people depending on you to work, you can't afford to get sick. You can't afford to be exposed. So there does, I probably have pulled back a little bit from some of that because, I do get people's colds. I do catch that stuff. But, I try to, we try to set a window of time to make it happen. And if people can come and be a part of that meet and greet in that, window of time, we do it. And then if they can't, then we understand. Maybe we catch them the next time through. But I've been a little bit more do my show and try to give it and leave it all on the stage, and hopefully they can feel that what I feel about them, and then but I usually after the shows I usually will come out and sign autographs if it makes sense, because nowadays, man, I can outrun all my fans.
Hey, now, come on. We're not that old.
I can outrun them.
Well, actually, you mentioned the little ones. I mean, I play Billy Dean in the car for my 5-year-olds. So, I mean, you're getting new fans every day.
Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate that. You're raising them right.
Yeah. I mean, we grew up with 90s country. That's when we
did.
were in radio. And, I mean, that's some of the best stuff out there, I think.
That is
Man, it really is. I mean, I go back and I listen to, Walk Away Joe, Trisha Yearwood. She's in love with a boy. And, man, this is my team. My generation, I used to come in. This is before we all got record deals. I call it like, when we were the freshman class. It was, I remember Alan Jackson driving up in his Winnebago to write with one of our writers at EMI Music. And Trisha, I remember going to the studios singing demos. And Trisha Yearwood in there with her Belmont sweatshirt on and you know, singing demos in the studio, just wailing away. And you know, T. Graham Brown, you know, he was a little bit before me, but you know, Garth Brooks. I remember when Garth first came in and did it. We all did a songwriting guitar pool. Man, he went back to Oklahoma with a different attitude. He went back and went, oh man, I've got to write songs. I've got to regroup. And he did. He came back with a vengeance and you know, tore up country music. And it was a great time, the 90s were, you know, and it was a new generation coming in and we were getting played, and Randy Travis really helped spark that. I remember when Randy Travis came onto the scene, he was a young guy who sounded, you know, a little bit older and everything. So he got the young audience to tune in, and he got the older audience as well that was already liking country music. So he kind of opened the door, I think, a lot for our style of music in the 90s to live, you know.
Can you think of a celebrity encounter that you've had? You mentioned you name dropped a few people, but can you think of somebody that you either had an encounter with or did something with that we wouldn't have expected you to have bumped into this person?
Robin Meade from Headline News, man, on the CNN. My wife was a fan, and I was actually a fan too. My wife would get up really early, and she would tune into Robin Meade on Headline News, and we saw her at the CMA Awards a few years back, and man, seeing her, because my wife was turning me on to her every morning. We watched her every morning, you know. She was like a part of our day, and we saw her. We got starstruck. We go, oh my God, there's Robin. That's who we wake up with every morning, you know, and we actually became friends with her after that. We kind of hit it off with her and her husband, and I like. I'm a big fan of believe it or not, winemakers. I got a lot of famous winemaker friends out in Napa Valley that I love their wine, you know, and one of my favorite people who've got to be friends with, you know, is a restaurant owner, Paul Martin. It was I don't know if you know P.F. Chang's or Fleming's Steakhouse.
Yeah, for sure.
P.F. Chang's, that's P.F. Paul Fleming. Met him out there, and I used to, you know, eat at his places. Great. I'm a big fan of, you know, business people, CEOs, people that aren't probably big celebrities, but as far as music celebrities now, you know, my favorite one of all was the first time I met James Taylor. Now he is like my hero, you know, he's my main go-to guy. And this was the funniest thing. I never met him. I've been to some of his concerts, but I was in my tour bus, in my big 45-foot Silver Eagle tour bus out in California with a night off. And the word was on the radio that James Taylor was in concert. We were right in the area where he was. And we went to get tickets, and it was sold out. And I was so disappointed. I was like, man, we got a night off. My bus driver said, well, we are in a tour bus. Why don't we just, about 3:00, why don't we just drive around backstage to the gate? They might wait us right in, you know, because we're in a bus. Well, that's exactly what happened. Now our bus is backstage, parked, and everybody's looking around like,
who's going to come out?
Right.
You know, did James get a new bus or something?
Why is there one too many buses back here?
Yeah, right. And we knew the routine because we did the same thing. It was 3:00, load in, catering and all that. So they waved us in, and now nobody's willing to get off the bus because we don't want to get busted. And we sit on that bus for about an hour looking around through the curtains, and we see them loading in James's gear and all this stuff. And then finally, my bus driver recognized one of James's drivers, and they were good pals. And my bus driver went off and connected with him and told him what, you know, that we're big fans of what had happened. And they set up special chairs for us, and they got a nice laugh. And James could have been more gracious. he remembered each one of my band members' names,
Wow.
shook hands with them after the show, and it couldn't have been more gracious. And it's just how big of a fan we were. We just were determined. It's scary when you meet one of your heroes. You don't know if they're going to be, nice or not, or how they're going to feel about fans. But he was very gracious, and I was very pleased of that. But that was one of my funniest encounters, how we snuck into that with our big tour bus.
Have you done that since?
Oh, no.
Ah,
No.
that is such a crazy
haven't.
story.
Well, I do have to tell you that for as long as we've been doing fan counters, that right there is now my new favorite fan counter story.
Yeah.
That is my all-time new favorite story.
And now you're going to go out and get a tour bus.
I already have a 32-foot one. I don't think I need a 45-foot
I don't think
bus.
you could sneak into a concert.
No,
with that.
that's when you.
I think
That's when you have to carry a bunch of guys.
Yeah,
you don't want that.
My Class A is just fine, thanks. Me and my little Winnebago. You recently
awesome.
announced that you've decided to leave Branson to hit the road in 2018. Talk to us about your upcoming tour.
Okay, great. I love that. So we there's some places that I have not been and I haven't connected in a long time. First of all, we're going to be up in the Wisconsin area in June. I think June 17. I'm going to go to some area. Branson is really a lot. Most of the people that come to Branson are from Oklahoma, Nebraska, Indiana, Illinois, Arkansas. The Midwest, the Iowa. So I've been here for 4 years. Doing that. Now I sold most of my records though out west in Salt Lake City and California, and we sold a lot up in the New England area, and I have not been in the New England area in a long time. So my wife and I thought it would be really fun to to take our time and broadcast on the internet, where we're going to one part travel blog, one part sort of career reflection, ending each day with a nice state park. We love staying in state parks when we travel, and making the tour kind of like a travel blog, and include our fans and people who might want to escape their everyday life and find out what part of the country we're in. So we're gonna try to be up in Maine and that area. We're gonna go from there all the way to California, and we're going to be hitting the Great Lake areas. We got some shows up around the Great Lake areas on the way this summer. So it's really about going to places that I haven't been in a long, long time, and hopefully people will still remember me. I hope so, and will want to come see a show.
Well, if you do swing through, we want to do a live show with you on Fan Counters. We'll bring you back, and you can talk about the tour, and we'll do this in person.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I would love that. I sure would. I've got a lot of new music coming out. What I'm really excited about too is you guys please check this out and share it if you would. I've been mentoring a little girl since she was 11 years old. She was cast in the Toy Shop when I first came to Branson when she was 11. She was fresh off of America's Got Talent, making it to the semifinals, and she's 11 years old now, and so I started working with her. She's about to turn 16 now, and just about 3 days ago, we released her debut EP, 5 songs which she co-wrote. I produced it, and it's coming out on our music company, BDMG, Billy D Music Group. And her name is Chloe Chanel, and that's spelled with 2 N's and 2 L's on the Chanel, Chloe Chanel. Would love it if you guys check her out. She's going to be doing some shows with me this summer when she gets out of school. She's an amazing singer, and I hope people will like her album. Now it's kind of pop music, I guess you could say pop rock country, somewhere in there. But I'd love for people to check her out. So we're going to be out promoting that. I've got an album right now that a lot of, I think my fans would enjoy. It's an album that I was a part of. It's not like my album, but it's called Sun Studios Sessions. And if you type in Robert Wells, if people can remember that, Robert Wells, Sun Studio Sessions.
Okay.
There's 2 songs on this. We went over. I went with this friend of mine, Robert Wells from Sweden, and he wanted to record in Sun Studios. So we set up right where Elvis and Johnny Cash and Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, where they all, this one room, this little magical room, Sun Studios, where rock and roll was birthed. And we set up and we just went through 10 songs, and we just top to bottom, just recorded, just turned on the recorder and played boogie woogie old style rock and roll music. And Robert Wells is the most amazing boogie woogie piano player you've ever heard. And I got to sing 2 songs on that. We did I sang with his wife, Maria Wells. We did the Bonnie Raitt song, I Can't Make You Love Me. And then I did an old Dave Dudley classic, 6 Days on the Road. And it's just the most fun album. Sun Studio Sessions. People check that out. If you just probably Google Billy Dean on iTunes, Sun Studios, it'll probably come up. That is it's kind of like Stray Cats. I guess you'd be sort of like Stray Cat music,
Yeah.
Brian Setzer and Stray Cats. It's kind of that type of music. And then I've got a new album of my own original music coming out. That'll be coming out probably in the beginning of summer. And backing up around Easter, a friend of mine challenged me to do my first gospel album. So I'm doing this Southern gospel album that'll be coming out around Easter. So we have Chloe out now that we're promoting the first part of 2018. Easter will be a gospel album, and the beginning of summer will be new original music from me. So it'll be a busy year.
That's awesome. Hey, we had Chloe Chanel on our topics of things to discuss, so do you mind if we ask you some questions about her?
Oh, not at all.
Is she the first artist that you've signed to Billy Dean Music Group?
She is the first I've signed. She's not the first that I worked with. I worked with a guy by the name of Jason Pritchett, and that I was just trying to help him get started. He was in his mid-30s at the time. He got a little bit of a late start, and but Chloe is the first one that I've wanted to mentor, and because it's her work ethic, it's her talent, her ability, her personality. She has all of these ingredients that I think that make up a star. She just has this it factor, and she's just a great, my job is to really make her, I want to make Chloe or help her become, a powerful businesswoman. She's got the potential to not only be a great artist, but to run her own show, run her own business. And I want her to not need anyone. I want her to be able to do it all, and she wants to do it all. And it's just that enthusiasm at a really young age. I mean, she's like a seasoned pro at 16. And I just, I've seen her go through, I've known her, since she was 11. I've seen her be I've seen her bullied. She's been bullied before, because of her early, recognition. I've seen her go through that. She's just tough, man. And she's writing about these things that are, that's going on in her life. And it's helping her, it's helping her deal with some of the pressures of school and where she is in her life. So I'm very proud of her, and she's like I say, she's the only one that I've signed to our company, because we've been working together for a long time, but it takes a lot of time. You have to put a lot of love and a lot of effort in this, and to make it right. So I'm proud of her. of what she's done and her work and the songs. You listen to those lyrics that she's writing, man, that she's writing about what's happening in her high school, a lot like Taylor Swift was doing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's what it kind of reminds me of. So she's writing, like, how many of the tracks did she have a hand in? All of them?
All 5. And, she's learning, structure. She's learning literature. She's learning, that's one of the great things about, working with her and writing, is we've been, you got to read more. We got to increase your vocabulary and learning how to, just teaching her about how to be a writer, because she's got it innately inside her. She's got so much to say. I mean, I just sit down with a pencil and I just ask her, well, how's school going? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, it's like open up Pandora's box. she just heaves lyrics,
Wow.
and I just write all this stuff down, and then I show her how to put it into, song form, and then she just hums melodies, comes right out of her. She just loves melodies, and so she's just learning how to structurally do it. Some of the tips of writing, and but yeah, she had a hand in writing every one of those songs, and she contributed quite a bit to every one of them. They wouldn't be the songs they are if she hadn't been in the room.
You know more than anybody that the music business has changed so much since you released your first single. So, two-part question here. What challenges do you see Chloe Chanel having to deal with that you didn't have to? And then how are you, as her manager, helping plan for these things?
Well, she's going to have to learn how, and I will too, we're learning this together, how to market her music, how to get people to pay attention to her. That's usually the job of a record label. And we don't have a record label, but we may not need one, and we don't know, what the results of her music's going to mean, but there are so many tools and so many distribution outlets, digital distribution outlets now that a solo artist can create their own business, but they have to know, you gotta know about publishing, you got to know about, copyrights, and you have to learn about intellectual property, and then you got to learn about marketing. Where, are we buying Google ads, or, what are we going to, how are we going to make this happen, without
right.
radio? So I didn't have to worry about any of that. I had a record label that did all of that for me. But if we can do it together, it just means that she'll be more successful. She'll get to own her own brand. She'll be able to keep her name, keep her work, her copyrights, and get paid for them. And I think in today's world, artists have to, they're going to be getting pennies, literally pennies from hundreds of different sources. Whereas back in my day, we got dollars, tens of dollars, thousands of dollars
mm-hmm.
from just one or two places,
Mm-hmm. Right.
Radio and sales. Now music is not really I don't know that music is such a commodity to be sold anymore, as much as it's a commodity that pulls attention and draws attention to other brands to be sold. So I just don't know if people are going to buy music. The main thing is music for us now is our commercial to try to gain fans to come see us play live. That's really what it's about now. Where back in my day, it was a commodity to be sold. I mean, the pressure was, man, if you weren't selling 500,000 albums each time you came out, or 1 million albums, you got cut from the label, from the roster. I mean, you had to make those kinds of sales. And I remember, gosh, nowadays, if you could sell 500,000 downloads,
mm-hmm.
You're a god, man. And 500,000 was on the low end of what we had to numbers we had to rack up when I was coming along. But at the same time, we had to sign away a lot of our rights, and that was the exchange. You gave a company exclusive rights. In return, they did what they could to get you public exposure and make you a star. And I was very happy with that arrangement. Some of this catalog eventually comes back to you after so many years anyway. So, but nowadays the challenge is, how does she stand out among so many independent artists? And I think it's going to be the quality of the work. because I believe if there's one thing I can bring to the table for Chloe is to make her sound like a professional and not an amateur. You know, we we use the greatest, studios and the best musicians and the best, technicians, and all of that stuff matters, just so that your song can be heard through an ear pod or an earbud.
Right.
We go through all that work to make an MP3, but it does matter.
Yeah.
She is already so far ahead of the curve because she's found somebody like you to take her and show her all this stuff. So
Right.
This is going to be very exciting to see what product you guys are turning out. So we're excited.
We are.
Well, thank you so much. We're excited about it. I'm excited to see her get started, and we want her to wait till she turns 16. December 27th, she turns 16, and I'm very proud of her. We just encourage people if they would to maybe go and write a review on iTunes for her. We'd love that.
Fantastic. So, at the height of your career, it came at a very special time in Nick's and my life. We were both working at a country radio station, and you were topping the charts. Another one of our favorite artists was coming up at the same time with you, and his name is Neil McCoy. Back in October, you came to his rescue by lending him your bus. What happened there?
I did. I tell you, man, I love this guy, man. This guy is a loyal human being. He's a great patriot. He's a great friend. And, we all only get to see each other a lot of times in passing, maybe spend an afternoon together here and there. It's not like we all get to hang out together, on our off time. So we have very little time you see each other. And when you do, you either make a strong connection with someone or you don't. And over the years, every time I've seen Neil, it's like seeing a long lost brother or something. And I just think the world of him. And I was here in Branson, and he had a show to do, a big important show to play halftime at one of the Dallas Cowboy football games. And he was here in Branson, and his bus broke down. And I've got an old vintage Silver Eagle bus, kind of like that I traveled back in the day in the 90s. But my bus has been converted into, to be customized just for my wife and I. So there's only like 2 beds and a couch and a kitchen, and it's an old Silver Eagle touring bus. And I knew it's pretty reliable, man. These old Silver Eagles, they just run forever.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Neil's road manager, Les, and Neil texted me. It was about 10 o'clock at night, and he said, "Man, do you know anywhere we can get a bus this time of night here in Branson?" And I said, "When you're more than welcome. You and the guys are more than welcome to take my bus. Now you're going to have to probably sleep. I got air mattresses and pillows, and there's only 2 beds and a couch. It's not, it doesn't have bunks in it and everything. But I said, I promise you, it'll get you there and get you back." So he said, "We'll take it. We'll take it." And so, sure enough, I felt so bad. All of his crew, I guarantee you, man, that bus, it's only a 40-footer. Most of these buses are 45 now.
Yeah.
But it got the job done. The old Silver Eagle. I just have to laugh a little bit because these Prevost buses, these buses today, they're super expensive, but they're super complicated. They're just computerized. There's so many buttons on them, and the old Silver Eagle has none of that. It's just a tank. It's just like it's built of steel, and you can put kerosene in the tank, and that thing will run. It's just one of those things that just runs on anything. And so. Anyway, but the old bus got him down there and got him back, and he was sweet enough to text and everything, and I'm just glad that we were here because I've been in that situation before, and your only alternative is you got to go wake somebody up, and you got to get vans and trailers, and now band members have got to drive. You got to do whatever the show's got to go on, especially if you're in Dallas. Halftime show, we had to get him back down there, so. He was nice enough to tweet about it and talk about it. But yeah, man, he's one of my favorite people. We got him down there and got him back. The old Silver Eagle bus. See, it pays to keep it simple sometimes. It's like my bus mechanic said. He goes, Billy, you see all these buttons on these Prevos? He said, that's what keeps me in business.
That's awesome. Well, one thing that I love that you do is Facebook Live. In fact, you Facebook Lived when you went to go pick up your bus, and that's how we found out about this whole debacle in the first place. So that was really entertaining.
Right.
Really, anytime you go live on Facebook to connect with your fans and stuff, I think that is, an awesome way to connect. It's kind of one way. I mean, they can chat with you and stuff, but it's really cool to be able to keep up with what you're doing. Well,
thanks, man. I like doing it. We, my son, he works for Dell Computers, and he said, Dad, he goes, listen, if you're going to do Facebook Live, you got to at least take a shower. And do your hair and he's like,
come on, no, that's not what it's for.
He's like, he's like, you're popping on the camera, like fresh out of bed. I said, I know, I don't.
Yeah, but that's what makes you normal to us.
Yeah, no, we like it better that you didn't shower because that makes you human as opposed to you.
I'm going to tell him that.
Yes, it makes you more human because otherwise we just think you've just all dialed up to do some sort of show kind of thing as opposed to being authentic and very organic and going, hey, here's what I got to say.
Well, that did, because here's what's bad, man. I'm bad about. This is when I like to do my Facebook. I like to do it late at night after I've had a couple of beers. That's not a good thing, but it's so much more fun to. It's like sitting down and having a couple of beers with your fans and with your friends out there. I like doing, but you never know. Man, you never know what I might say or do during that. But it's kind of for me, it's a late night thing. I like doing it late in the evening. And I know a lot of people probably aren't awake or sometimes when I do it, but I get a lot of people from overseas that tune in during that time, which is kind of interesting. But okay, good. I'm going to tell my son that. I'm going to say, look,
tell him to forget
it's supposed
that.
to be more. Yeah. He says, you got to look like a star. I'm like, nah, well, okay, I get that, but I'm not. Yeah. I'm like you guys. I just want to be real.
I think if you're promoting your actual album, you should look like you're a star. But if you're just having a conversation with me, you should look like what you normally would look like.
There we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, we're just about wrapped up here. We do have a few fun questions for you. Obviously, Christmas is coming up in just a couple weeks. So we wanted to know what is on your wish list this year.
Gosh, I'm so bad. When I want something, I go out and get it right then. I have no delay of gratification.
You and me both.
Yeah, we're both like that.
Yeah. I want some cameras for my bus. My wife, I'm hoping she'll do that. I love technology. I love gadgets, and so I'm a GoPro gadget kind of person. I'm hoping to trick out my bus with some cameras so that we can give everyone, a really good feeling. We want to try to make people feel like they're on the bus with us. So I'm hoping to get a few cameras that I can,
like live stream,
that I can put in the bus. Yeah, and then I like little, I like just little gadget stuff, and I love computer. I'm an Xbox Live guy. I'll probably get a little bit of Call of Duty, maybe an update on a game or two. I do like that. Awesome. I'm a gamer. I know I'm old, but I love gaming, man.
my brother-in-law and I always joke about because we're approaching 40. What it'll be like when we're in nursing homes and we're playing Metallica and all this, crazy music.
Right.
We are going to turn this place upside down compared to what they're like now. So same with you. We'll be playing Call of Duty and listening to our heavy rock and all this music from the 90s and 2000s that we grew up with.
Yeah.
Man, listen, I hope I'm right there with you.
So tell me, how will your family celebrate Christmas?
Well, we have a big family. I have a little bit of a surprise for my sister. We're all kind of spread out these days. My mom is 88 years old, and nice. She's in good shape. She doesn't see very good, but physically she's in good shape. We'll go down to Florida. We have we have a traditional Florida Christmas, which is we have a big bonfire outside, and we get oysters on the half shell, and we have what they call a low boil, where it's a big pot that goes on the fire, and it has corn and shrimp and potatoes, and it's just this big gumbo of seafood that we put on the fire, and we sit around the fire and we eat oysters, and we just love on each other and just try to spend time together. We will probably be in flip flops and shorts. That's a Christmas, kind of a tradition. I usually try to connect with my young little nieces and nephews that I don't get to see very often. I'm still kind of a stranger to them, but I usually try to pull out the guitar, and if I pull out the guitar, I can usually, lure them in because they're curious, about the guitar. And I usually lure them in so they can, I can talk to them and be with them. So I'll probably take we want to do, all the nephews and all the nieces. I'm going to take them on a tour bus ride. I'm going to put them on the same Silver Eagle, and my wife and I, we want to take all the nieces and nephews down to the beach, for a day, and just let them run some of that energy off, and then and fill them up with a bunch of sugar, and then take them home back to their parents.
Yep.
But it's pretty traditional. Just for us, it's it's just about everybody trying to be together. My sister, she has 2 boys, and one of them lives in Oregon, and he doesn't get to come home very often. So I'm flying him in as a surprise for my sister, nice. So she can have him for Christmas.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right, Billy, this is it. Tell us where we can find you on social media and follow all of this exciting stuff you got coming up in 2018.
Man, the best thing, if you go to BillyDean.com, all of my links, my social links are right there. Facebook, of course, Instagram, Twitter. BillyDean.com has it all there in one place. And anyone who wants to reach out to us, if you'd like for us to come play in your hometown, and you've got some suggestions of some theaters, we're looking for any small theaters to play, 300 to 500 seat theaters. You can email us directly from BillyDean.com. It comes right to our office, and it also comes to my phone and my wife's phone. And stay in touch with us that way as well. But we'll be all of our links are right there on BillyDean.com.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us today, Billy. We really appreciate it, and we hope your family has a really Merry Christmas.
Yes, we've had a delightful hour. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys for taking the time to visit with me. I appreciate it. And have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
You too.
Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy.
You forgot to ask him one main question, Elizabeth.
I did. I want to know what skincare products he uses. That man does not look 55.
No, he's sounds great, and now we know why.
Yes. Oh, he's hunky. But I was really very pleased to talk with him. As we spoke in the show, we did our radio back in the 90s, and he was a big part of what we were doing. And I just absolutely adore him, and I appreciate anybody that would take the time out to mentor a young girl and to bring up Chloe. So we're excited to see where Chloe goes in the future. We hope that you'll be able to catch Billy somewhere out touring in 2018. Because it was really nice to talk with him.
Yeah, definitely. And Chloe Chanel, too. You can check her out online. And she'll be touring with him, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Super fun.
Lucky for her.
I know.
I mean, not many kids can have a guy like Billy Dean take them on and say, we're going to build your career. So.
Yeah.
Pretty
Super
cool.
fun.
All right. That's going to do it for us this week. If you want to find us online, go to Facebook.com/Fancounters. You can leave comments if you want. We'll interact with you there. You can send us a message, or if you'd rather do it privately, you can send an email to
hello@fancounters.com. And don't forget to go to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating.
And we're going to bring you another great show next week. We're going to be welcoming Jesse Chris, who is a country music artist.
And we're getting close to Christmas.
Yay! Just one more week, and we'll be there.
All right.
All right, we'll talk to you again next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.